What is it with this fucking podcast?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Cowboy Rowdy Podcast. It's me, your host, Cam Beasy, and joining us as always, resident comedian Anthony Barrera.
Hey, it's your boy Anthony. What's up?
Thanks for joining us. Also here, show producer, Monterey Bay comic, Michael Booth.
How's it going?
Thanks for being here. And special guest, dear Lord, it was so hard to say your guys' shitty names and wait for him, Brian Simpson. Thanks for joining us, man.
What's happening?
And for those who don't know, everybody should know who's listening to this podcast. Brian Simpson is a Comedy Store regular. You've probably seen him on Comedy Central on the Lights Out show with David Spade. If you haven't seen that yet, stop this, go check that out. It is funny as heck and timely as all hell. Watch it. Thank you for being here, man. We're really big fans. And before we get going, I had a compliment I want to pay you. Can I pay that before we get into this?
Yeah, man, go for it.
Okay. I don't want to be a sycophant. I don't know if you're into that shit, but this is big. I saw you post an Instagram story talking about somebody I won't name drop, but you mentioned somebody and how you thought their stance was kind of disserving to their position. And a little while later, that certain somebody donated $100 million promise to, I think it was, I don't know all the institutions, but I think it was including like NAACP, ACLU, and a couple others. And so while you didn't yourself give the money, I feel like your comment went a long way towards getting that money there. So as far as people I know who donated, you might have the single biggest contribution to any of those causes right now.
Oh wow! You think my video got back to Michael Jordan?
I think that. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't know, man. I mean, I was really emotionally charged at that moment.
Well, I mean, honestly, you could say all kinds of stuff, all kinds of people, but I don't think it was a negative message. And he agreed with you, if anything, because he freaking did some shit about it. So whether it was for that or not, I think the thought and the sentiment resided well with everybody. That was cool to hear, though. And I've heard a lot of smart things from you before even like it became like a racially charged protesting moment where there was more outspokenness about it. You've been saying some fucking hilarious things that are also very true and pretty good observations. Is that something you aim for with all of your joke writing material, or is that just an incidental thing?
No, I don't. I don't really aim for anything. I just say, you know, I think all of my comedy is just rooted in things that irritate me. You know,
Yeah.
and so racism is just one of those things that constantly irritates me. So it comes out a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that makes sense because I heard you do a set that had a good bit and it kind of resonated with me because I have a bit about the Nike Just Do It motto and what it means to the people wearing the shirts and then what it means to the people making the shirts. And I heard you do a bit about the cost of, like the Walmart 10-for-1 shirts and stuff. And then afterwards, you're like, I'm sorry, that was just on my spirit. But I love that you can just in the moment talk about something that you're irritated by and turn it into something funny just like that. Because that's methodical for me. That doesn't just happen.
Yeah, well, that's how I learned to be a comedian when I was in the military. It's like whenever I would be complaining about shit, it would, not every time, not all the time, but it would often get a laugh when I was trying to be serious,
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't trying to be funny, but it would just be funny. And so that's what my comedy is. It's like I can, if something really irritates me, it really irritates me. Not like it's the flavor of the moment, and I'm trying to jump on the trend. But like if it's something that really bothers me and I start ranting, I usually say a couple funny things, But
did anyone there ever tell you like, hey man, you should get into comedy?
Oh yeah. People have been telling me that.
You guys are like, hey, you know what I'm saying? You got to get into
this. In fact, when when you get out of the Marine Corps, when you leave the unit you're in, they usually have like a going away thing.
Okay.
And at mine, they tried to make me do stand up.
Nice.
Wow. Give me the microphone
but,
and like.
Well, no. They didn't put me on the spot, but they were like, hey, so it's set up in there if you wanna. And I was
cool.
To be honest, I was just afraid. Like I was afraid to do it. I was afraid to not meet everybody's expectations.
Yeah.
And it's close though too. It's like your whole unit there. That's especially who you don't want to let down, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I had never practiced or hit no mics or anything, and I was just like, I was too terrified. And I didn't try stand up for like 10 years after that.
10 years.
That's really cool that they saw that, in you, and kind of, they even said like they set it up like, it's ready to go for you. Like, I think that's cool to hear. Like, people can see you already kind of like have that vibe to be on stage, how the way you're talking to them, like you're saying, like complaining about things and it's being funny. Like, that's really cool to hear that. Like, people are just like, they just want you to, they're like, that's your natural environment almost, is what they're saying.
Well, I mean, it's super scary to do it in front of like people that you've been with for a while. Like the same with family. Like performing in front of family is another pretty scary thing. Even when you've been doing it a while, it's still like there's still a different type of pressure in the room when you have a family member present.
I try to tell. So for a long time, I started in San Diego, and for the longest time, there was a point there where I was, hosting at the Madhouse Comedy Club down there. I was hosting all the mics and hosting all the shows and hosting the weekend, and people would come in all the time, and like, people that never done comedy, they come to the mic and ask like, yo, so, you have any advice, any tips? And the one thing I would say to every single one of them is, don't bring your friends and family to your first open mic. And you know what? They would never listen. And then they come with their friends and family and they bomb in front of their family. Because nothing good can come of it. Either you're gonna bomb in front of your family, depending on how how real your family want to keep it. You're gonna bomb because you suck, because you've never done it before, or they're gonna give you, extra. Exactly, they're gonna give you false confidence, extra laughs that aren't real, and so it's like, don't.
They're gonna gas you up.
Yeah, I'm terrified. Like, bro, like my mama didn't see any of my stand up until I was like maybe 4 years in.
Wow, that's a long time. You weren't excited to try it. You didn't have like one or two jokes. You're like, I gotta try this on her. I know she'd like it.
Nope.
Dang.
Because the thing is, and my friends, a lot of my friends saw me before that. In fact, a lot of my friends were at my first show, but by then I had still already hit like 15 or 20 mics before I ever performed in front of my friends. But even still, like I never rush them or pressure them to come see it, because the longer they take to see it, the better it's going to be,
That's good philosophy at all times. It always gets better to keep working at it. That's beautiful, man. Like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask. I'm super interested in something you said earlier about that gap. So you got out of the military. Were you thinking about doing comedy during that 10 years? Was it something on your mind?
Oh yeah. And I was wrong. It wasn't a 10-year gap, because I got out in 2006, and I think I started in 2011. So what is that?
Oh, it was like
6,
5 years. Yeah.
Still, that's a long time. If you got that in you, like, how was that 5 years? Were you just trying to push it down every time you think about it, or?
No, I mean, I didn't really take it seriously. It was just like, I would just fantasize like, oh man, if I could just talk shit for a living.
That was the appeal.
Yeah, and then I got in the habit, like I got a real good job, and I was making good money and all those things. But people kept telling me along the way, like people that really knew me kept in, because it was, when after I got out of the military, all of them kept telling me to do stand up. Then I moved up to Oregon for a little bit, made a new circle of friends, and they kept telling me to do stand up.
Oh my God!
Then I went back home to Maryland, and my family and my new circle of friends, they kept telling me, yo, you should do comedy, And then when I finally moved back to San Diego, around my first military friends or whatever, and I still didn't do it right away. I moved back to San Diego and right at the end of 2009, so 2010.
Okay,
and it took me, and it took me a bit, and I started going to school, and it was like a perfect storm. I was taking this philosophy of religion class that was like basic logic, and I met a couple people in there, and at the same time I went to a show with a friend. I went to a comedy show with a friend. It was like maybe my second time going to see comedy.
Was it somebody you remember? Somebody you remember, or was it like a?
No, it was like local people that actually I forget the name of the guy that headlined the show, but everybody but him was bad. and the friend I was with was like, man, if you don't fucking, because see, the first comedy show I went to was Dom Herrera, and that was when I was in the Marine Corps, and I was like, and so it was like I was comparing myself to that, like I'll never do it.
Yeah, this is what comedy is,
right? But the next comedy show I went to, which was like 8, 9, 10 years later, was like just a regular local show, and it was awful. And the friend I was with was like, man, if you don't, you're better than all of those people before that. So that's when I decided that I was gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Oh, there is no competition here.
Right. Oh no, but then I was just like, but I just still didn't know how.
Yeah.
You know, and then like maybe a couple weeks later, I was walking home and I decided to go into this bar that I would walk by every day and never went in. I went in there and I was laughing and joking with these people, and this dude, he thought I was flirting with his girlfriend, and I was making them all laugh, and and I ended up back at this house party, long story short. and this guy ran this like nonprofit literary organization, and they would like teach people how to tell stories and stuff like that. And they were thinking of trying stand-up. Yeah. So they had a stand-up show coming in like 2 or 3 months. And he was like, hey man, if you want to give it a try, get on that. You know what I mean? And so I invited all my friends to that. And then I started going to mics every day until that show.
Smart man.
Yeah. And then when the show, it went pretty well. I mean, looking back at the video now, it's hard to watch.
After years of practicing.
Oh yeah, but I was hella confident.
My first time ever doing comedy ever, I actually had my girlfriend there recording.
Oh my God.
I kid you not, man. And
you're not with that girl no more, are you?
That's how good my comedy is. Hey.
I didn't hear anything you said.
So, I said no. We're still together. She's actually
we'll
buy a house next month. We're doing good. But it was like same feeling. I saw an open mic and I was like, I can do this. Like everyone tells me I'm funny, I could do this. So I went. In hindsight, I would never tell anybody to have their partner go with them and record on that first time. It turned out good, thankfully, but the odds were not in my favor at all. Yeah.
But you know what though? Honestly, I think if you're a funny person, you can be funny on stage. But all the other stuff, like the technical stuff, that you have to practice over and over and over again to internalize it, to perfect your shit. You can't get good at that. You know, it's like because I don't know anybody I know people that weren't good at stand-up that got good at stand-up, but I don't know anybody that wasn't funny that became funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to be a funny person, you know, to be funny, right? To be a stand-up, you have to be a funny person. You don't have to be a funny person to be a comedy writer or anything like that, because that's just a formula.
Yeah.
But you have to be a funny person because it's a way you see the world. It's like a lens that you see the world through.
Do you think it's the stage that does that?
That does what?
The stage that does that? That's the difference between a comedy writer and a stand-up comic. Because the stage, like, it's you. The spotlight's on you. You're saying them. You're saying those words. You're not writing them down. You know, so you have to exude that energy. You have to be funny. Like,
yeah, I mean,
do a lot of the work, but you got to deliver them.
No, but I'm just talking about like your perspective. You know, like funny is like a reaction to how you deal with trauma and tension and pain and that sort of thing. And some people don't. You know, it's like you can't teach somebody how to be funny anymore than you can teach somebody how to have a scar. You know what I mean? It's like it's certain way. It's like the way you've chosen to recover from shit just so happens to end up being that perspective. You know what I mean? But
it's imprinted on them a little bit. That's what I noticed with one of the first lessons I'd learned that was sucky, because I'd had like jokes go great, take them to another place, they don't work great there, and it's like, huh? And like learning about different audience types and stuff. There's so much to
that.
Yeah.
Dude, my mic's been muted this whole time.
We can do the Skype audio. It sounds good. I mean, we can do the Skype audio and throw a filter over it.
I've been recording the Skype call as a backup this whole time.
So yeah, I mean, we could. It'd be kind of hard to parcel out just your audio a little bit, but we could do the whole audio from that, or we could cut to the new audio of this segment. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Do you want me to still start recording again?
What do you think, Michael? Would it be easier to use the Skype audio for all of it?
Probably for the whole thing, yeah.
Because otherwise, I think ours might not sound the same.
Noticeable.
Yeah, let's just do the Skype audio. Let's not worry about it, man. We can roll.
Okay.
All right. So keep that in. Yeah, that's the best part of the show. So you waited like 5 or 6 years to get into it. When you first got into it, you had a comfy job and stuff like that. So did you have a lot of motivation when you were first starting?
Oh no, when I first started, I didn't have that job anymore.
Okay.
I started right away. I mean, at first I was going to school. I was going to school though, and I was on the GI Bill, so it let me, it gave me a lot of kind of flexibility.
That's nice. Yeah.
But the shitty thing about a philosophy class being one of your first classes is that you immediately learn that college is bullshit. So as I kept doing more and more stand up, I was focusing less and less on school.
Yeah.
And then it just, and then I started working, at that, like after I think 9 months into comedy, or 10 months into me doing comedy, the Madhouse opened up. So I started comedy in like February of that year, and then in November, the Madhouse was opening up. Well, they were opening up before that. They were like getting ready before that, and they gave me I was their first, door guy or whatever. Oh, so nice. I just had a lucky little perfect storm where, and the Madhouse is owned by a comic. You know what I mean?
That's
so.
Yeah.
Right. And so he was funny as shit. He used to work at the Comedy Store down there. Like he used to promote shows and stuff down there. So he started his own club, and then he just let me do everything. He let me, I learned how to, a little bit about the business, how to run shows, how to seat people, how to book stuff, how to write a little bit.
So,
really
and I was the best way to start.
Yeah, man. And I got so much stage time. Like almost like maybe like a year and a half in, I was already opening on the weekends, and then maybe 6 months after that, I was featuring on the weekends. Oh, nice. And I was hosting the mics and stuff. It was like it was like just this boot camp in comedy, and already the best comics that were down there, like Eric Knowles was one of the best comics down there. He was our bartender, and Joe Charles. Those people, they were like, they would also like check me, like check my ego, like that was good. Okay. You know what I mean? But
you had high caliber people to check you though. You weren't just an open mic crowd.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. And the first time I met Joe Charles, I was like, "Hey man, can you watch my set or whatever?" And he was like, "Oh." He was like, "Well, where's your tape recorder?" I was like, "I don't have one." He was like, "But then don't talk to me till you have one." Like, I'm not, it's like, if you're not gonna listen to your set, then why the fuck should I?
Damn, that's a good point. That's a good one. I like that.
And I'm telling you, I took that to heart. So many comics I see, and they don't record themselves, or they have the tape recorder for show, because they like, oh, this is they wearing a comic costume, so they have a little notepad and a little tape recorder, and then they don't listen to their set. They don't take notes, they don't edit the shit, because it's like, you have to treat it. If, when you get to the point where you're like, this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
you have to take it serious. You have to treat it like a job. You should put at least 3 or 4 hours a day into listening to your material, editing your material, right, or even just reading over it to see if anything jumps out at you, or something. You have to have a process that allows you to edit, to evaluate your shit.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people don't realize, like, it's not that hard to do it either. Like, you get a microphone for like $10 that you pin onto your chest. Have your phone record it, have another phone recording you during your set, and you got video and audio.
Yeah, I'll say this. We got lucky. I kind of had a perfect storm scenario myself where my first time doing comedy, Michael was there and he had just started producing a show. And he was like, "You were actually funny. You want a spot on the show?" And so he booked me on a show on my very first open mic performance and then started like, yeah, this guy right here in the soundproof closet.
And yeah, we've been doing the show for like 2 months, and I also, we didn't have anybody really in the area. It was kind of just like a newer show, and this is like the only open mic we had been going to, and we met Cameron, and he had, his first time, he had a good set and stuff, so we were like, let's have this guy come on too, because we just started doing this showcase because we didn't have anything going in our area, so it was cool, yeah.
And I'll say this, like, he's got a perfect scenario, like a brick cellar in a bar. So it's away from the bar. You don't hear any transactions. You don't hear any music up there. It's got stage for lighting and everything. The crisp brick background is beautiful. But the big thing is, just doing sets there, I was able to get like 2 camera angles on a couple shows that I did early, just like 10, 15-minute sets. And within a year and a half, a little less, getting booked to open at the Improv because of it. So like literally, if he didn't have that show running, I would be just doing an open mic at a coffee shop 3 years into comedy probably. But because he started booking a show and stuff like that, I wouldn't put it on par with what you got, of course. But I mean, it was like an advantage to me to just right away jump in and get experience from other people. But the podcast, man, those tips you give and stuff like that, the recording, I was lucky. I knew that stuff right away. Like, how long till you were practicing did you feel like you were really benefiting a lot from a session out, like working material?
How long before I was benefiting from what?
Like, how long till you felt like you were actually making good use of your time out on the stage? Because I know you can work stuff every time, but like you start looking at recording it, you start looking at going back to your notes on a set or cutting it for like promotion. How long into your comedy career do you think until you were actually like making good use of an outing? Like not all the fundamentals weren't there.
It's probably like a month and a half, something like that.
God damn, man, you were sharp fast. That is
it wasn't that I had learned how to be. I didn't have my whole process at that point, but I did know, like what I did know, I was like, I just want to get better every set. So every set, I'm going up there with a purpose. Either it's to try this line or move this sentence or switch the order of the jokes around or something. But every set I'm gonna get something out of it, and like that's why I learned, like I don't know how long y'all been in stand-up, but you'll find that eventually killing feels good, or even just doing well feels good, but you'll feel worse if you forget to say that thing. Like you might have killed, but it's like I've killed before with the same set. But the whole thing I went up there to try, the whole thing I left my house and came all the way over here to do this set to try, I forgot to say it. And so I wasted my time. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
I haven't had a lot, but I had one moment. And we don't have a lot of stuff close by. It's not like the LA scene. Like we have to drive sometimes an hour and a half just to be able to get 2 shows in a day because there's not stuff co-located. But when you go all that driving and you're planning all this, you're rushing from work, trying to do carpools and all this stuff, trying to get out there, and then something like that happens, you're like, God damn it! Yeah, exactly. So I can sympathize. So do you think the military background makes you like a harder worker than a lot of comedians?
No.
Really?
No, not at all, dude. I'm a lazy motherfucker. Like, see, that's the thing is like the military doesn't make you anything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To me, it's just like every other challenging thing in your life. It doesn't make you something. It just reveals what you are. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a lazy motherfucker. Like the military didn't make me a hard worker. It forced me to barely keep up with the hard workers. To be able to give the illusion of hard work. You know what I mean? But
you got good at spotting a hard worker from like a mile away.
I didn't start doing stand-ups to be a hard worker. No. To me it's just I enjoy the work of stand-up. So the process, right. So it's like I love having a new idea and working it out and coming back and listening to it and typing it out and edit it. Like I love that shit because I love killing. I love going on stage and crushing. And so it's just like, I feel like John Wick putting a new gun in the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when instant gratification, dude. Just like
no, but it's just like it's like walking around knowing that you have assassin skills. You know what I mean?
You're really that motherfucker, you know, like.
Yeah, but it's like every time I get a new bit, it's like a new weapon, a new shiny gun that's hidden in my china cabinet, and all my friends have no idea that there's guns and grenades and rocket launchers all around. You know what I mean?
Do that?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. That's cool.
On your friends.
I've heard that same analogy from jiu-jitsu guys. Like every choke you learn, it's another secret gun or knife that they don't know you're holding and stuff. But I like the comedy analogy way better because you can also get pussy with it.
Yeah. Not gonna get no. Well, you can get some pussy with the right chokehold too, but that's frowned upon.
The platonic kind, of course. People, come on, right? What are you talking about? Yeah. Man, I love that feeling. Though I love what you said about like loving the work. That there was a moment it was in Santa Cruz, now 6 months ago probably, but I had a joke and it was an opener I was using pretty regularly and it was getting really good results. And I was like, yeah, love it, reliable. Here's how I segue. Then I'm about to go up and this guy tells a joke that it's not as clean or short as mine, but the punchline's so damn similar and it's so close that I'm like, this guy literally just tanked my fucking like super comfortable thing, the thing that gets me in my zone where I start telling the risky material afterwards. And I was better for a moment, but then I was like, what else can I do? What else can I do? And I rewrote the joke while I was waiting to go up. And I was going up after him. So like I had like 6-7 minutes, but I rewrote the joke and got a bigger laugh with a new punchline that I put on it. And that felt so fucking rewarding. Like bring an obstacle, like make it harder, probably try, you know?
Yeah. You something I was told right away, pretty early on was, whatever point you're making when you write a joke is, now try to make the opposite point, and a lot of times you'll get a tag out of that or even a new joke out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can take it opposite direction, just bounce. And it helps you also if you're doing that, I imagine, even out with the crowd. So you're not like monstrifying one side of an audience or one mindset. You can kind of bounce around and get everybody on your side. I did that with a presidential joke talking about presidents. And I was like, can I talk shit about every president in a row and get people who like each president to all laugh at the same joke? And like going from like Bush to Obama to Trump and making everybody laugh at each president. It's kind of hard, but when you play it back and forth like that, I didn't think about that as like a good practice for every joke. That's smart. God damn it, Brian. So I'm talking about you. You're not supposed to be teaching us anything. God dang it.
Good idea.
So like what's been your highlight? Because I gotta imagine the lights out appearance must have been fun as hell.
Yeah, it's a toss up. It's a toss up between the lights out thing. No, it wasn't that.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. It's a toss up between. No, you know what? It was when I went to Vegas with Tom Segura. That was
shit. Okay.
Because that was the moment. Because what matters the most to me, because obviously like being on TV was dope, and that definitely led to other things in my career. Like that was probably my break, if you will. But the acceptance, because the thing is, you can get on TV for bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can be. There's plenty of people that are in the comedy world and in the comedy business that aren't real stand-ups. You know what I mean? It's like you can get on some.
Yeah.
Right. You can be on some, because they'll let anyone do stand-up. They'll let anyone that's famous with anything be come to a club and do stand, except the Comedy Store. But the acceptance. Yeah, the acceptance of your peers, or even more so the acceptance of the people that are like levels above you. That is, because that's the fuel that keeps you going in this bullshit ass life. Like that is standard, because it's mostly misery. It's mostly it's mostly disappointment. It's mostly failure. It's mostly rejection, and then every now and then you get some ambrosia drips down from the gods, and you're like, okay, I can go for another 6 months. So just the fact that like. Because Tom Segura like really fuck with me, and it was out of the blue. It wasn't like some political shit or nothing like that. He just saw me one day.
Just a fan, yeah.
he saw me one day. He was popping on a show I was on in the belly room at the Comedy Store.
Oh, nice.
And he came on right after me, and he was like, he came on 2 people after me. But when I got off stage, he was like, "Hey man, that was a fucking good joke." I was like, "Thanks." And then like a year later,
a year goes by.
Yeah, a year went by. So I
thought in the meantime.
I ain't talked to him, we ain't interact, nothing like that, because I ain't know him.
Yeah,
and then
on your own business.
And then out of the blue, like right when I was doing real bad, like I think I was still living in this homeless shelter at the time.
Oh, sorry to hear.
But I was with my best friend. I was somewhere it was like Christmas or something like that. And he hit me up out of the blue and was like, he messaged me on Twitter and was like, "Hey man, you want to be on my show?" And I was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh,
and shit. Yeah, I'll be on your show. He's like, "Yeah, it's in the belly room. It's tomorrow." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there."
Out the blue.
Yeah, but I was in Flagstaff. Right? I was in Arizona.
Shit. I gotta get the fuck out of here.
No, but we were already leaving the next day. But that we woke up that morning and it was a snowstorm.
No.
Oh yeah, man. And we were in a Prius. So it was like, are we even gonna be able to get out of this motherfucker in time? And so we had to drive so slow to get off. Because the thing is, this is Arizona, so the snowstorm is only in Flagstaff. It's not in some other. If we can get out of Flagstaff, it's fucking hot, So
that's so crazy.
Cool,
yeah, man. And then it took us forever to get out of Flagstaff, and then it's still have a long drive to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we made it basically my friend dropped me off at the Comedy Store. Wow. At the end of that whole drive, I got it to the Comedy Store in my bags. And then I walk into the store and it's just me. Normally shows in the belly room are like these long drawn out shows and there's 15, 20 comics on the show, that kind of thing. So I thought it was going to be that kind of thing. I was going to be one of however many people, but it was just me, him, and Christina P.
Oh, wow. No way.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And he was like, "Okay, so you do 30, she do 30, I'll do the rest." I'm like, "Okay." You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it was 20, 20, 40, whatever it was, but it was like it was like he just let me, like I didn't have to prove anything to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we sat in there and we talked and they asked me basically this. They were just like, "So where you from? What's going on? Blah blah blah." And then I had a good set. He had a good set. And then I saw him again, like a couple weeks later. I saw him in the parking lot at the store. And he was like, no, I wasn't still in the shelter at the time. I remember because I was already passed. So I got passed after that. But I saw him in the parking lot and he was like, "Hey man, what are you doing in May?" You know what I mean? And it was like, it was so crazy. Right. No, this is like December, January, right? And I'm like, nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing I'm doing in May that I'm going to say no to whatever you're about to ask me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, but when I finally went with him, like it was like that theater was that, just living that, just a little sliver of that lifestyle was just like, yeah, baby, that's what I'm working towards. And and people like him respect me as a comic. That's what matters to me more than anything. It's just so that. Cool.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that fucking weird that when you're doing a show, you don't care about the comics and the audience, but like the freaking opinion of a comic after can mean so goddamn much. That is insane. Yeah, man, I still don't get that.
Because you know why? It's because when it's all said and done, it's like, because the fear is that you'll be one of those people that's famous or well known, but no one likes you. Like, or like it's because it's lonely. Being a comic is it's a very niche lifestyle, yeah. And so if you don't have the acceptance of the tribe, then it's like then you're alone. I mean, you can have regular not comic friends, but you don't get that feeling. It's like being away from your family for too long. It's like
it's a community
that feeling.
Kind of
yeah, it's a community, and like it's like being excommunicated from the church. It's like You sold out, and now nobody. Because I see it all the time. I see comics that come to the Comedy Store, and they're comedians, but don't nobody fuck with them. You know what I mean? And that's terrifying to me. Yeah, it's like they don't respect you. They don't respect what you do. They don't respect your comedy, and so
they know
it's
you're not with the shits. Like,
yeah, it's like, what do you have? I guess I can't really put it in exact words, but
yeah.
But it's true, man. I think it's true of every profession, though, but comedy is especially.
Do you think
I get it, and then
sorry, what was?
No, go ahead, Michael. Sorry, that was my bad.
Oh no, I was gonna say, do you think that Segura was like? Did you see him in that year? You said it passed before. You did that first thing with him, and you said a year gone by before he talked to you. Do you think he saw you like in the store at all, like doing sets or something, and was just kind of watching from behind?
Oh yeah. Because when he saw me the first time, I wasn't a paid regular.
Okay.
And then.
So he was like probably watching from a distance, and then saw you go past.
Well, the talent coordinator. So the talent coordinator at the store, Adam Egan. He was.
Yeah.
He fucks with me tough. So he's the one, like, right from the beginning that was fucking with me.
Okay.
You think you're gonna be on the new Norm Macdonald and then kick it back up?
No, probably. Maybe. Who knows? But he was like, I'm pretty sure he had a lot to do with him noticing me. Because that's the thing too, man. Is like the best way for you to meet a comic is for them to see your comedy. Like, don't if you have the chance to get an autograph or something like that, you take it or whatever, but just know that, like, you can be a fan or you can be a colleague, but you can't be both. You know what I mean? Or you can't it's like I'll give you an example. It's like when you're like when Adam tried to introduce me to Segura, it was like, oh yeah, I remember, I saw that guy. He's funny. You know what I mean? But I'm sure that's how it happened. I wasn't there when he talked about me.
Right.
But then after I got on Lights Out, I remember being in the back one time, and it was Adam and Joe Rogan, and he tried to introduce me to Joe Rogan, and it was like, yeah, he's not gonna be rude about it, but at the same time, it's like, it's until I see you rock. I'm just gonna be. I'm gonna keep a distance because you know what I'm saying?
Like that, yeah.
But I'm saying that what I'm saying is that every comic, there's someone seeing you be funny is worth 10 introductions.
Oh yeah.
Because and the reason that is because like I said, anyone can succeed in Hollywood from knowing a motherfucker that know a motherfucker that know a motherfucker. But you can't fake funny. If I see you kill on stage, I know the work you put in. It's the same thing as when I meet another Marine Corps veteran. You know what I mean? It's like right away, the fact that they were a Marine, I already know that they went through X, Y, Z. I already know that they're tough. I know they can put up with bullshit. Like we share that bond. So it's like when somebody see you kill on stage, especially more than once, you know what I mean? Or so it's like that's worth that. Somebody seeing you kill and then you being recommended one time is worth you being recommended 20 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the product on the field. They've seen what you can do.
So So my point is just this. I've been going around the barn just to open the door, but my point is just, it's the perfect scenario is not for you to see somebody you admire and go talk to them. The perfect scenario is for them to see you kill and come talk to you.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to meet someone above you in the pecking order. You know what I mean? It's for them to go, for them to say something to you first because they saw you were funny. Because a lot of people out here want to be successful or they want to be famous, but they don't care what they get famous for. And I'm one of those people that is very cognizant of that. Like, I don't want to be known for anything other than being funny. Or I'll take smart or well spoken or whatever, but I don't want to be known for my antics. I don't want to be known for pulling my dick out or running in front of traffic. Or any sort of gimmick. You know what I mean? I just want to be.
On that note, I'd like to ask you, what do you think the role of comedy is now, like with everything that's occurred recently, with Black Lives Matter and the police brutality front? What do you think the role that comedy plays in that right now?
Do you think comedy's still illegal because of COVID?
No, I mean it's the same. It's the same as it's always been. You know.
Okay.
Like I don't think comedy has to be anything except accurate. You know.
All right.
Like that's a good way to say that.
Because think about this: what is funny is cultural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you go, it's like when you study the history of comedy, who you hear about like Lenny Bruce a lot. You hear that name a lot, right? You ever go back and listen to a Lenny Bruce record?
It's hard, man. It's hard.
It's not funny, right? Yeah. But he was killing back then, right?
Oh, to hear someone say those things?
It's what they knew.
Yeah, because the culture was different back then. The line that comedians walk on, it was way the fuck back there in the 60s and the 70s. You know what I mean?
Censorship and the like things you can't talk about, taboos.
Exactly. It's like hearing someone say "fuck the government" in 1950 was crazy. Now that's standard. So now you got the crazy shit is up here. So you have to. It's almost like I don't know, like mining for oil or something. You know, it's like we've you got to go deeper and deeper. So my point is just that the culture is shifting. And so as the culture shifts, the comedy has to go with it. You know what I mean? Or you're going to be sounding like Lenny Bruce to these kids. You know,
it's not going to fly. It ain't it.
I mean, some people going to stick to it. I mean, some people still, their comedy is outdated already before all of that. And it's like, and it's just, it has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with age. Like you listen to George Wallace, he's still funny, and it's just keeping your finger on the pulse. Because I get it. Like a lot of people, they turn 60 or 65 and they fucking retreat because that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go off into the fucking. I'm gonna buy a cabin in the woods and stay the fuck away from people. But if you decide to keep up with what's going on and keep up with the trends and keep up with keep up with the zeitgeist. I hate using that word, but it's the only word that means that.
It's stupid, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but if you decide to keep up with the times, you can stay funny. Like I said, I don't think a person stops being funny. You know, you just stop being sharp. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you
killing these days.
Is he?
Yeah, he's
I haven't seen him at all. Yeah, but I know George Wallace is killing it.
I've seen some stuff recently. Well, not super recently, like 6 months ago that I saw a clip.
Yeah.
Dude,
he was on New Negroes on Comedy Central, but but there's a I think a lot of you're gonna notice a lot in the next 4 or 5 years. You're gonna see a lot of comics get left behind. They're gonna either get left behind, or they're going to get a different response than they're used to getting because they're going to try to fake keep up. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you're saying they're going to get left behind because they don't evolve with the shifting times that we're in.
Exactly.
Okay. And they're going to try to fake it. And because of that, like, it goes back to what you said about community. You can see when they're not really doing them.
Yeah. Like all the guys that when I came to Hollywood was like, oh man, it's a, good thing you're black. That's what's in there. It's tough for a white guy out
there. Said
those are black roles there are.
You have to understand. So many white dudes, they crave to say something racist around a black person. And for some reason, I'm often that person, and they think it's gonna fly. And it's like all those comedians that thought it was hard for white guys 5 years ago. It's like they're gonna really have a hard time right now after this is over with, because the world has collectively decided that we won't tiptoe around white people's feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so man, some people can't handle that because they're so used to it. They're so used to everyone making them comfortable or shrinking so that they are comfortable. And people are like, that shit's over with, bro. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. No one cares if you got two less sets, you know. So a black person could get set in because think about this is how racist the entertainment industry is. It's like almost to a man, even the racist ones, comics will admit that black people are funnier usually, right?
Everybody's favorite comic is Dave Chappelle. Like, I don't think anybody argues that.
I've always been a Kevin Hart guy. I've always been a Kevin Hart guy.
But I just mean, but think about the fact that like most of the comedians that are famous and successful or that are given those big breaks are not black. Like because you would think that the majority of comedians would be black. But if black people are usually funnier, you would think that the majority of comics would be black, but it is not the case. There's so few of them.
Well, every late show host ever has been white, except for like maybe one in the UK, maybe sometime, I don't know. But like,
Arsenio Hall had a show for like.
I'm sorry, Arsenio Hall. He had two, didn't he? Brought it back. He tried to bring it back.
Well, he did. He brought it back like recently. It didn't last though, because I remember seeing him interview Prince before he died. But yeah, but my point is just that that's one and like
that's that.
Yeah, like they didn't even consider having a black person replace
Johnny Carson or anybody else.
No.
Jimmy Fallon. Even when Jimmy Fallon got promoted, there were some people out there.
That's why I'm not fooled. Like I trust maybe the new networks, the Netflixes of the world, and
they seem to have their finger on the pulse a little bit more accurately. Than network
you gotta understand, like if you believe all of these Hollywood people because keep in mind, the same people that have been racist this whole time are still in charge of everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not like all the people that own the studios and shit. It's the same people. So I don't trust them that they're being that they're all of a sudden not racist. It's just what's convenient now to make money is they trying to shift the times. I mean, listen, when NASCAR bans Confederate flags, the rest of y'all better get in fucking line, bro.
For real, dude.
And Ben and Jerry's
motherfuckers call it like, come on.
Yeah, bro, because that's basically they're the last company that has to.
You know I mean? Really.
They're the last company. They could have just doubled down and been like, you can't get into a race without a Confederate flag, and they wouldn't have lost no money. You know what I mean? But the fact that NASCAR was like, all right, man, we're gonna piss off about 60% of our fan base, and we don't give a fuck. Yeah.
Did you see how quickly Drew Brees turned around his statements? It was within a day. Within a day, he was, you know.
Drew Brees, the Drew Brees thing was weird because I don't think he realized that so much of the backlash against what he said was because he was the last he was the last white quarterback that you would expect to hear that from. You know what I mean?
For real. Yeah. Louisiana, New Orleans.
Yeah, like if it had come from like if it had come from like who's the dude, Phillip Rivers or somebody, I'd have been like, oh, okay.
Indianapolis Colts now. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's in one of the blackest cities.
Like
like the way that black people embrace Drew Brees, he was the last person I expected to feel that way and feel so strongly that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And completely missed the point. And so it hurt more. Because I have friends up here that's from New Orleans. Have y'all heard of Punky Johnson?
No,
have not.
Oh, she's another famous. She's another famous, another paid regular at the Comedy Store. That's like her and our careers sort of in the same sort of place, like right in the starting gate, ready to. But check her out. She's funny as shit, right? But she's a big time Saints fan. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. That must have sucked.
And she's from New Orleans, and like immediately I texted her like, "Get your boy," and she was like,
because Jameis Winston is waiting in the wings, dude. He's waiting.
Oh no, they love Drew, and he apologized, and you know, I get it, but it's like, bro, that shit's over. Like the fact that anyone was even asking him what he thought is crazy.
It's
like people are done. Like that time is over with. No one even cares what Drew Brees thinks. Yeah. That he could have answered the question like that. Like, no one gives a fuck what I think. It's not my time. Like, that's what Dave Chappelle said. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares what I think? It's you know what I think, because I've been talking about this for a long time. You know, so it's like, you know, I don't know if his apology is sincere, nor do I give a fuck. I'm over the NFL right now. Like, I love football, but
they just turned tail right now. They just completely reversed course. They were like, "Yo, we fuck with you guys kneeling," which, I mean, it was 3 years too late, but it's good to see that there is some actual change occurring and that the status quo is actually shifted.
The message about accountability, though, not just changing.
But this is about money. This is about money.
It was.
Because when the NFL comes back, because everyone's hurting right now financially, all of the leagues, every entertainment is hurting, and when that shit comes back, if you can't get a sponsor, because the NFL makes the major sports leagues, they make almost all their money, or they make the majority of their money
from
the TV deal, right? So it's like, if you can't get those sponsors, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
It was all for nothing.
Yeah, and black people are going to start, and not just black people, but everyone that really believes Black Lives Matter.
Yeah,
I predict that by the end of all of this, it's going to be we're gonna take down a few of these companies, like financially. When we combine our dollars and really don't spend our money, because I'll admit I was guilty of this, like with the Chick-fil-A thing, right? And I was like, yeah, fuck Chick-fil-A, and then I would sneak some nuts, you know.
Shit is like, delicious.
Yeah, or it's like, boycott the NFL, and then I'm still watching, watch the highlights, But it's like, if we really decide to combine our dollars and not spend them with companies that donate to these shitty politicians, or donate, like, think about donating to Jeff Sessions. You know what I mean?
So really, there was some math on this, and I believe the number is $3.8 trillion in losses if that were to occur. If really everyone stood together and we're not going to spend a goddamn dollar today, it would be around $3.8 trillion worth of losses.
Wait, for what?
3.8 trillion if people decided not to spend a dollar
for the world or for America?
Just on one,
the US.
Just on one day?
In one day, yes, the US. $3.8 trillion. These people are spending a shitload of money every day, and if that suddenly stops, that's a big number.
Yeah, that power, that's some power, honestly. That coordinated,
that is a lot of power. That's more money than the NFL has, the NBA, any kind of institution that isn't, it's $1 trillion loss you're taking.
Yeah, that'll put you out of business.
Yeah. I'm not liquid like that, so I can't handle that $1 trillion loss game, so I'm going to try and avoid that. God damn.
Yeah, but I have everything. The only thing I would have to spend money on is food. I have everything else I need.
Has there been some big brands? Because I don't follow everything, but I heard, I basically need to stop eating Taco Bell, which is good because my doctor said the same thing anyways. But are there any specific companies or anything like that you've been checking out that you're like, oh wait, I gotta pull back from this?
Wendy's,
McDonald's.
Okay, yeah. Here's the thing. I just want to say I did a dirty thing there, and this might be fucking white racism right here. I didn't say Wendy's because I love Wendy's, and I haven't eaten them since, but I haven't wanted to close it off, man. So I said Taco Bell instead. But you're fucking right, Wendy's.
Yeah, well, see, I'm not talking about Wendy's because of what happened the other day. I was already off Wendy's because they were on this list that came out of people that donated to Trump's reelection campaign.
Yeah. McDonald's.
That's why.
On that list too.
Yeah.
Well.
McDonald's, Wendy's, Pizza Hut.
What else did they do? Hold on, Wendy's did more than that.
Yeah, just the other day. Well, this maybe this isn't really on the Wendy's Corporation, but just the other day, another black man was killed by the police because someone in
Wendy's, yes, he was.
Yeah, because the Wendy's he was sleeping in his car in the parking lot, and they called the cops, and he ended up dead, and a lot of people, and they burned that Wendy's down.
They did.
They burned
really?
down.
Yeah, no. Coincidentally, awesome. It was there was a video. I believe it was a white woman that tried to burn that Wendy's down.
Oh yeah, it was. But
I believe I don't know
that part doesn't even matter as long as it got burnt down.
Yeah, it's sick that it got burnt down. That's like
I don't want stuff like that to happen, but I understand.
Yeah, I can understand.
And the lead to something's dead. They can get insurance on that building. You know, it will drive insurance costs up in the area. Lives. Yeah, exactly, man. Like I'm not pro fires in general, but the fucking stories that are coming out about these kids getting shot, kneeling down with a hammer in their pocket, and then hearing about a fucking cop sees a guy steal a taser from a cop, but they notice it's not on, so they don't shoot him, and it's like, what the fuck? How do you get through the days without just being all anger all the time? How do you stay from level-headedness?
I don't. You know, I mean, I get high when it gets overwhelming. You know.
Yeah, you kind of have to, yeah.
Yeah, but I just, you know, and I play video games. I try to distract myself, but it's impossible, really.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what it is. It's come to a head. Like a discussion I had yesterday. This is like my 9th podcast this week, but the discussion I had yesterday was just about how this is all interconnected, you know, and so you have to understand something about the American political system is designed to move slowly. So that we can survive a tyrant or something like that. So no one Congress, no one president can make some drastic change and that completely changes. Right,
checks and balances.
Right, and the 2-party system constantly fighting back and forth, making little like it's designed that way on purpose so that nothing can happen quick. Right.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that when America decides to ignore a problem or put a Band-Aid on it.
It takes just
never address it.
It becomes more and more urgent, and Congress doesn't know how to do urgent.
Because
you know, and
they're not built for it.
Yeah, and we're at a point now where the racial and economic and psychological neglect of Black people and poor people is all coming to the surface all at the same time. I mean, the coronavirus exposed our medical system. It exposed our economic system, right?
Hugely.
And then at the same time, Black people collectively decided this is enough. It's a wrap. Like this generation, like I'm not my grandfather. I'll put fucking hands on you. I'll burn shit down. You know what I mean? And Congress doesn't know what to do. They still haven't done anything.
Here's what's crazy about that. They've passed multiple financial aid acts. They've done like these $1 trillion, $6 trillion acts. They do them in the course of a week. How long has this been going on? They can't ban tear gas. They can't just ban tear gas.
They don't follow social issues. They follow money.
Oh yeah.
And that's the only thing that's going to send a message. That's the only thing that will ever send a message.
Yeah, you got to understand how disconnected these people are from reality. Like all these veteran Congress people. Like think about the fact that they told people to stay home from work, that they couldn't leave the house, that they couldn't make money, boom, boom. And then these same people sent everybody $1,200. Think about how disconnected you have to be from the financial situation of the average American to think $1,200 will mean a motherfucking thing to anybody.
How much does 6 months rent cost? Well, Jeff, it's about I think $200 or $300 a month. Okay, give them 12.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like think about how disconnected you have to be from the situation of the average citizen to put an eviction moratorium up. That when it's over, now you can evict people, because that's what's about to see. This shit is about to explode, because in the next 2 or 3 months, these land, because you already see every time I open my phone, it's showing me an article about that some bootlicker wrote about how a landlord is having a hard time because of a tenant. You know what I mean? And it's like it's gonna come to a head where these landlords gonna start trying to force people out, or the eviction moratorium is going to be up, and it's going to be more people in the streets.
We're walking into an economic recession, a mass eviction fucking notice that's going to spread like a flu all over the country. These people are not going to be equipped to go back to work because we're not like it's not safe to go out to work yet. You know,
I mean, for some people it is, but I will say the thing about the rent moratorium or the eviction moratorium without the rent forgiveness, that's just so stupid, man. It's just so ridiculously stupid.
Well, and the thing is, you can't have rent forgiveness without mortgage forgiveness. In fact, see, now we're getting into the
banking system.
But the whole idea of private property is something that needs to be re-examined.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any logical sense it's like, why is this yours again? Because you bought it? Well, who'd you buy it from? Or who they buy it from? And if you keep asking that question, eventually the answer is going to be, I stole it.
Yeah.
I stole it. Right? It's 100%. Like this shit belongs. Like, why do you own the water? Doesn't that belong to everybody? Doesn't the air belong to everybody? It's like, why is that yours specifically? I don't get it. It's like, and then why should you be able to speculate housing, right? Because like it's illegal for you to speculate in the stock market in any other way. Like for example, like you can't buy 1,000 loaves of bread and never take possession of them. You understand what I'm saying? It's illegal because it keeps people from inflating the price, right? Because if you could do that, if you could own shit that you never took possession of, then we would already be in a situation where there was one person that owned everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like but you can do that with housing. You can buy a house or buy a building that you would never have any intention of living in or having any possession of, and you can decide how much it costs for somebody to live. You know what I mean?
It's extortion on cost of living. You're extorting their living.
The Los Angeles City Council is mostly landlords. Most of them own rental properties. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a profit off classism. They're keeping other people from that wealth bracket by profiting off of them. It's like,
and the thing is, what a lot of them do is, a lot of them cry about it, but the truth is, it's like a lot of them don't even own the property.
Yeah,
they take out a loan on the property, so they buy this building with someone else's money, and then they let their tenants pay off that loan for them. You know what I mean? And then now the tenants can't afford to pay, and they looking at you like, well, you should have had some savings. It's like, where was your savings, motherfucker?
Yeah, for real.
I don't have sympathy for any landlords. Like, fuck you, dude. Yeah. Like, you need to turn around and be fighting the bank, not fighting your tenants. You know?
And the point to that, I mean, fucking, God damn it, they're making money off of it, but the money that they're investing is essentially luxury money for them. It's going into an investment. And so if the other person was getting that same money to go towards a mortgage for their family, it would be essential money. It would be for cost of living money. And the other person is a luxury money. The fact that we can have everything, like you were saying, the private property, everything can be irresponsible to acquire with money as a private property. And it's just fucked up that there's people out there with so much luxury money. And so people struggling just for the essential.
Here's why that's all connected. Right, is that you have to understand, racism is an economic issue. It always has been. Slavery was an economic thing. It was free labor. You know what I mean? And it got watered down. And then Jim Crow was also an economic thing. It was because now we need poor whites to do this work for very, very little money, but we need to give them somebody to feel better than, so they don't rise up against us. So now Jim Crow, you know what I mean? It's like, that's what this was all about. And then the same thing with segregation, redlining. Redlining was when the government decided that Black people couldn't live in certain places, which is what created the inner city ghettos, right? And we weren't allowed to purchase homes or get a home loan, which stifled generational wealth. So like most of the white people I know, most of my white friends have a house in their family that was passed down from a previous generation.
Some rich ass people.
No. You ain't even got to be rich. You know what I mean? It's just like you might not have got the house, but I guarantee one of your
somebody's got it.
Or one of your aunties got a house from your grandfather, right? And so it's like
generational wealth.
I don't know any Black people like that. I don't know any Black people that have had a house passed down to them from their grandparents or their parents. You know what I mean? And it's because we weren't allowed to purchase them. At least most of us weren't. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they don't exist, but the government made a concerted effort to keep Black people from purchasing homes. To keep and the same thing with Black Wall Street. The whole problem with when Trump tried to hold his rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where that was a burgeoning Black neighborhood where they owned all the property and they owned all the businesses, and it was flourishing, and they literally bombed it. They bombed it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's all political. Like it's all connected. We aren't going to be able to address the racial thing without addressing the economic thing, which is what leads me to my big point is, which is what got Martin Luther King killed. Because a lot of these racists like to bring up Martin Luther King to try to tell Black people to calm down. Like he was peaceful, and that's all they know about him is that he was peaceful. But he was, before he died, he wrote like 9 or 10 books, and one of the books I'm reading right now is called Where Do We Go From Here? And when he died, when he was murdered, he had shifted from civil rights to economic rights, workers' rights. And that's what got his ass killed. That's what got John F. Kennedy ass killed. You know what I mean? Is as soon as you start threatening that money, or you start threatening to unite poor Blacks and poor whites, that puts a fear in the ruling class, because there's
it's too dangerous to have. Yeah. You know, it's way too dangerous.
I loved what I saw an interview Martin Luther King did that was so awesome, and he had this point about trying to tell the Black community in a modern day to pick yourself up by your bootstraps is telling somebody to pick themselves up by their bootstraps when they have no boots. You didn't even give them boots to begin with. And I freaking love that. But his point about violence, he wasn't saying that violence isn't an option. He was saying violence won't work against guided missiles. Like, you've got to have a better approach. You're fighting guided missiles. You're fighting tanks. Like, you're not fighting handguns. There's a big organization out there, and that tells you who the real enemy is. It's not the policemen only. You know, they're not the ones driving the tanks. There's people paying for tanks, people buying tanks. You start telling them what you want them to do with that money, it gets real dangerous. But realistically, what other option is there? It seems like it's just going to get worse. It seems like as that money centralizes, it'll just get worse. It'll be lower and lower levels of classes.
But you know what you can't do is you can't. But you know, also what he's spoken is that you have to expect violence when you leave violence as people's only option.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like think about because here's what it really boils down to, right? Is it's like we had an immediate $1 trillion response to the COVID-19 thing, right? We had an immediate trillions of dollar response to 9/11, right? Because why? Because we said, however many Americans die from this, that is not an acceptable number, right? So that begs the question: what is the acceptable number of Black people that die from the current system? What number is acceptable? Because if the number is anything but 0, then you're racist, right? And the thing is, that number was anything but 0 up until 3 weeks ago, because they weren't behaving. They're not behaving as though it's urgent. You know, they're not behaving as though, because it really has been a 400-year struggle. And it's like, when do we finally get to the point where there's actual equality and equal treatment? You know, I think this will be the generation that does it.
I hope so, man. Right? I gotta get this book too. I want to stay positive.
It'll be destruction. You know what I mean? We either have to fix it, or it's going, because that's another thing I think a lot of people don't understand is it helps America to help Black people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we are Americans, you know, and so because if we don't, that's the thing. If we don't fix the structural issues that were literally set up by the same government to hinder Black Americans, we're slowly going to fall. Like, we're already losing this because of the coronavirus. We're losing, or because of Trump's response to it, we're losing standing in the world.
Oh, big time.
The world is not looking to America to go, well, what is America doing? That's what we'll do. That's normally what happens. Whatever America's doing, well, yeah, it's almost a wrap. And the racial shit is another thing. I mean, the rest of the world is like, we don't want
It shows ignorance. It really shows ignorance in the modern day.
Yeah.
It shows so much ignorance as a nation. If you look at modern city-states like Singapore, which have 3 evenly split nationalities, like 30-30-30, and they have so little racial strife and warfare compared to areas with way different imbalances. So it's literally the white hierarchy isn't doing the right thing, and it's just evidence of it. There's so much.
It's also connected to the for-profit prison system, which is crazy. We're the only first world country with a for-profit prison system. Actually, I think we're exporting that now, right? There's
reals, though. Reals.
Yeah, bro. You'll go to some country and everything's shitty and they got a brand new prison. You know, because think about the fact that here we have prisons that they're for profit and they get paid by the bed, right? So they have an incentive to keep those prisons full. So they lobby to make all this shit illegal. They lobby for harsher prison sentences so they can keep those beds packed to the brim. You know what I mean? And and we know it doesn't work. You can look at countries like Sweden or somewhere where they have an actual rehabilitation focused prison system, and it works. Like they don't treat because the average American would look at how a Swedish prisoner is treated and and their living conditions and go, this motherfucker's on vacation. You know what I mean?
That would make criminals want to turn themselves in, and they don't understand the benefit of that.
Well, it's just that, look, I mean, unless somebody does something that keeps them locked up forever, all the American system does is make better criminals.
Yeah.
You know, you throw them all in this pot together. They're forced to be in a situation where even if they weren't violent before, they're forced to be violent. Yeah, and it's like,
I got family that's been institutionalized, and it is no joke. Recidivism is at an all-time high. There's so much evidence that everything's going the wrong direction. It's just crazy that we can't get people to acknowledge the evidence. And I don't want to come out and say it's just a racist, because I feel so many white people shut down. A lot of people who vote regularly, they shut down when it's only that tax. So I'm like, how do I identify that you're clearly showing a racial bias, that your everyday actions aren't even just like passively racist, like you're actually negatively impacting minorities in your community?
Oh, yeah.
What's a way to say that? How do you bring that up? How do you do it without making them your enemy right away?
I don't know, man. If I knew the answer to that, like I said, I would have already sent it out to everybody. Like, I don't know what to say.
Finish that book.
Because here's the thing: the answer is because the enemy is not the racist. This is what I read about. This is what I was talking about. I made a video on my Instagram about Dr. King's letter from a Birmingham jail, right? And he wrote this letter while he was locked up in Birmingham after a protest. And the letter was to the rabbis and the priests in the area, you know. And but he was talking about how the real enemy isn't the Ku Klux Klan or the White Citizens Council, which was a thing back then, but it was the white moderate. It was the person that wants to be in the middle, right? The person that wants, they want to be comfortable more than they want, because that's what's happening now, right? It's like. Yeah. It's like you ask, if you gave the average white person a choice right now, and you said, do you want to go back to how things were 6 months ago, rather than how they are right now? They'd all say yes, right? They'd all say yes. And it's because it was comfortable then, even though it was still like back then. It's still dangerous for me, but it's comfortable for you. And you'd rather that than be uncomfortable like we all are right now, which is the path to change. Like, we're gonna be uncomfortable on this road. It's gonna be nice when we get to our destination, whenever that is. But you'd rather be comfortable than go through this whole uncomfortable journey. And that's the sticking point, because a lot of white people are obsessed with being not the racist. You know, like their number one concern is that they aren't considered the racist. They don't actually care about racism, you know. Their main.
It's all about the personal impact, no matter what. It's always back to their personal impact at all times.
Right. Every conversation, so many conversations I have with white people about racism, is mostly just them trying to because most of the time it's initiated by them. I very rarely start a conversation about race with white people, but it's initiated by them. And the conclusion I always come to is that what they wanted the whole time was not to understand racism, but for me to validate their belief that they aren't a racist. You know what I mean? And so that's what's so frustrating about it is if you can't get past the part where you're a racist, if you can't just admit that you support a racist system, that you perpetuate the machine, then you can't understand race. Like you can't get past it because white people think a racist is a bad person, you know. And since you're not a bad person, that you can't be a racist. And if you think you can't be a racist, and then someone calls you racist, or someone says, "Hey, that's racist," you're going to immediately get defensive. You know, you're not open to being educated because your chief concern is protecting your own ego. You know, and I don't know what the breakthrough is. I think the only thing I've ever seen work is people having black babies. Yeah, the only thing I've ever seen 100% of the time.
But I'll do it, man.
Oh yeah. No, but I've seen a baby warm a old racist grandmama's heart. You know, like her grandchild's black and now she can't be racist. You know what I mean? Or I've seen people
slow down at least on them.
Yeah. But it's forcing you to care about because so many white people get to live in a world where they are not connected to black shit at all. You know, and you don't ever have to know anybody black. You know, and so. Yeah, when there's a black baby in your family, all of a sudden you're like, well, I do care about this person, you know. And I've seen that. I'm telling you, I've seen that work 100% of the time.
It just proves that like change is possible. Like it can happen. Like there's I can't believe that there's anyone out there that can't be, you know, rationalized with.
Yeah, I think
I'm sure there are. There are people that are irrational with them motherfuckers.
Yeah, you're right about that. Actually,
there's like Klingons amongst us that are like,
no,
you defy my honor for no reason. We have to go on this moon and fight.
Oh man,
I'll be honest, I not expect a Star Trek reference out of you, but our sound guy who's usually here is gonna cry when he hears that, because that's probably all he would have talked about in here.
That's funny.
Where's the sound guy?
He had to work today. He works for the city council doing like their Zoom chats and stuff like that. So usually he'd be doing that for us, but now fucking city needs help because of fucking virus. So damn, he's doing his shit. But man,
really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, I've been trying to talk with a lot of people ever since the like some of the more protests started, because I'll admit I felt complacent as shit. I feel like a piece of shit. I felt like a piece of shit 2 years ago, because when Black Lives Matter first came out, I was one of those first people to be like, that's racist. All lives matter. And then I had to have that moment where I woke up, I'm like, oh, they're not saying it because they're special. They're saying it because they're fucking murdering them every day. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like the fact that had to sink in when it's such a simple phrase tells me there is a lot of work for myself and others, but I'm super hopeful. And you're really articulate, and considering knowing that you do have the outrage and the anger, it's nice to hear you be able to like articulate. Because if I would compare someone fighting for, you know, an end to oppression or a more equal world for everyone we're living in it, if you were like a fighter in that effort, the best fighters, they can get angry at their opponent. They can have all that rage in them, but they also got to keep it under control. So they let it out at the right time and their blows land in the right spots. And that's what I hope for people who are trying to make a better change, is like the good pacing, the good effort when you need it. Don't let go of that rage, but don't lose control.
No, baby, I don't, my rage doesn't affect my behavior. I'm Grand Admiral Thrawn, bro. I calculate and I make calculated moves when possible. You know, but I understand the people whose rage explodes. Like, I'm not judging those people, but I try not to do that.
I had to buy a Tesla so I wouldn't run people over. Like, it's bad. So
you bought a Tesla?
No, hell no, I got no Tesla. You're about to like, cut this shit, motherfucker. What were you saying about?
No, because I was about to. Why do you still live there if you have a Tesla?
Man, Monterey is a tour trap. People come here for free chowder. This place is amazing. Steinbeck wrote books here.
Oh, free what? Free what? What's Monterey known for? Cheese?
Free clam chowder. You ain't been?
Oh, the white or the red?
White.
Okay, yeah. I ain't never been to Monterey. It's like people come there to drink wine, huh?
Oh yeah, we got right south of us, hella arts and wine.
Yeah, it's like Pebble Beach and.
So wait a minute. Are y'all all from there?
No, I'm
no.
Except area.
You're from there.
I'm from Washington State.
Anthony's in the area. Yeah, he was born in this area, weren't you, Anthony?
Yeah, I was born and raised here.
I could tell by the way he was like, "Oh, the chowder, dude." Like,
that chowder is fucking fire. I'm telling you. Like, they like to play around with it because they haven't had it as much. I grew up with that shit. That shit is fire.
all right. Oh well, next time actually, I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know where that is on a map. So I'm gonna look at it.
Okay, it's 2 hours from San Francisco. If you're driving up to San Francisco, we are right on the beach. We are 2 hours south, just before you get in the traffic of the Bay Area. If you're driving.
Oh wow, okay.
We're like an hour from like San Jose.
Oh, I see. Fisherman's Wharf. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty like they got in LA, but nice beaches. If you come through this way for like a San Francisco show or something, I'll make sure you get some good hospitality. We'll get you on the chowder.
What is Sand City? That sounds like a bullshit place.
Oh, dude.
Oh, it is a bullshit place.
And meaner things. God damn it.
That's funny.
No, Sand City, they literally, it's not even a city. It's a zoning thing they did to steal from properties.
Oh yeah. It's right there by the Costco. I see what's going on here. Okay.
It's just beaches on beaches on beaches on beaches, dude.
Yeah, it's actually a nice. We got some beautiful drives. The weather is all fun, man. It's 65 here.
Yeah, this is like a little secret. Wait a minute. Okay, so wait a minute. What is the downside?
Okay, so the downside is far from a lot of stuff. You're very far. We just told you there's no comedy show. There's Golden State Theater. They book like Brian Regan, Kevin Hart once a year. That's it. So there's no big shows. You got to go to the Bay Area, Silicon Valley to do like a lot of stuff, except for what Michael's been doing.
Why don't y'all start one? Oh, because you can't get people to come there because it's so out of the way.
I mean, Mike's
doing it.
I was gonna say for the past like year and a half, we've been doing one, and I've got like comics from LA to come up and comics from San Francisco and stuff. And it's most of the time it's better for them if they're also doing something in San Francisco like that weekend. They could come through like on the Friday or something and do the show, and then go up to San Francisco. But yeah, I've had a few people come through. If you're ever on the way, man, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, I will come through, and I already found a place. I want to go to Fish Wife, so we'll do that.
Okay.
There we go, dude.
Once comedy gets going again, yeah, we'll reach out. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, let me know.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you guys got comedy. We got hospitality for you. You can come anytime, man.
All right.
Beautiful. Well, is there any?
I'm gonna take you up on it.
Yeah, is there anything like any specific things you want to mention or get out before we like try and wrap this up or anything like that? I want to make sure I wasn't talking over anything you wanted to say.
No, not really. I mean,
you wanted any plugs?
Follow my goddamn my Instagram, BS Comedian, my Twitter, BS Comedian. That's about it.
The bio and stuff too on the post.
Yeah, that's about it. There's nothing special going on. Oh yeah, check out my boy Baron Bond shit just dropped. So I don't have. Yeah, he just had a you know Baron Vaughn? He was the host of New Negroes, but he has a thing with Funny and Die called Call and Response. So it's pretty dope.
Let's check it out.
Check that out. So Punky, what was the other lady you mentioned?
Punky Johnson,
Punky Johnson, yeah.
Punky Johnson. Check him out. Check out Brian Simpson for sure. If you ain't seen the Lights Out with David Spade appearance he did, it is so good and so sharp. And god dang, is it timely again. Listen to it. Watch it. Enjoy. Check him out everywhere. Thank you so much for doing this, man. I really can't say enough.
All right, y'all. Take it easy.
Get to check out the Cowboy Rowdy Podcast on Instagram and also the Cowboy Rowdy Podcast on Facebook.